Welcome to Dakota Preparedness. In this video, we're going to talk about, for long-term disaster, 6 very different tactics. Now, there's usually a path A or a path B, and then a whole spectrum in between. The first one is, do you bug in or do you bug out? In the vast majority of situations, you're going to want to bug in because your home is just a little storehouse of preparedness items. Even if you're not a preparedness person, you will have many items that can be improvised for preparedness. Now, on a few occasions, you will want to bug out. I'll give you 3 examples. Number 1 is if the local police or the local fire department tells you to evacuate, you should evacuate in the time frame that they give you. Number 2 would be the example of a forest fire. You don't want to stay around for that. Number 3 is a direct hit from a hurricane or near hit. Don't wait for the authorities to tell you to leave. Leave. The analogy to this is like in the Navy, they always trained us to stay with the ship if at all possible. What's in the water is sharks, lots of salt water, lots of sun, or in some cases it's freezing water, oil slicks, so you're best off with the ship. But sometimes you don't get a choice. That ship is going down and you need to get off of it. Hopefully you can take a life jacket, hopefully you can get in a lifeboat, hopefully you're a good swimmer, but there is no choice. The ship is going down. Number 2 tactic is, do you grow your own food or do you stockpile store-bought food? Now, growing your own food is the classical homesteader, and stockpiling store-bought food is kind of a classic prepper. In reality, I submit you will want to do both. If you're a homesteader, you need to make a contingency for a bug infestation or just a bad crop year, and have an adequate stockpile of either formerly grown food or some store-bought food. Likewise, as a preparedness person, if the long-term disaster lasts long enough, you will need to become a homesteader. You will need to grow your own food. So be prepared for both. Know how to be a homesteader, get some practice with it, or even go full-blown with it. The third tactic is, do you want to be part of a community or go it alone? Now, in the overwhelming cases, you want to be part of a community. A key thing in a long-term disaster of great significance would be your neighborhood, proximity of your neighbors. You want to get along with them. Now, I know some horror stories where neighbors did not get along, but do your best to be on friendly, cooperative terms with your physical neighbors. Also, join some civic groups, whether it be the veterans organization or a community action group, a religious group. Get to know some people. Your network is part of your net worth. Now, there may be a few occasions where going alone would be best, and that might be evident maybe in the early few days of a disaster. But overwhelmingly, you want to know people. Number 4 is how to store water. Now, there's a number of ways to do this. One is certainly having some bottled water on hand, and I do that, but I only have a few cases, because it's really not oriented towards real long-term storage. It's more of a FIFO, first in, first out. You've got to rotate it. Now, beyond a couple cases of bottled water, I would advocate that you have the ability to gain more water. Have a filtering system, a Sawyer gravity, a Sawyer squeeze, one of the permanent filters like a Berkey. Have the ability to purify your own water. Also, I submit to the limitations of your storage space. You should have some like 7-gallon containers because you can move those. Water weighs 8.3 pounds. So if you've got a what I call a monument storage, like a IBC water tote, which can be like 275 gallons, at 8.3 pounds a gallon, you're not moving that anyway. But it is an economical way to store water. And I would submit any of the water, whether it be in the 7-gallon containers or the 275-gallon water tote, is you filter it before you drink it. And in a few cases, you might want to even boil it. But the notion of storing the water in such a permanent manner with bleach or some water treatment, halazone tablets, I'm not a big believer in that because it can still go bad on you. It's going to be, by definition, you're storing that water for a long time. So you could have some bacteria and viruses appear, though. So I believe in any water from long-term water storage is you filter it. Now, be able to capture water also, if you don't have a stream or creek of good quality water, look into a rain catchment system using tarps. The issue with the rain catchment systems off the roof is most roofs are kind of toxic if you get to looking into it. Now, that would be fine for the garden or flushing toilets if you have a septic tank. But if you're going to drink the rainwater, I submit one way you can do this, and I'll do a video on this in the future, is you simply take a tarp that has grommets, the metal holes on the side. You get a four metal fence posts, and you pound them into the ground. I'll call it the north end of the tarp is at the very top of the post, and then on the south end you're going to have it much lower because you want that tarp catching the water, and then you're going to have some sort of container or containers catching the rainwater. So that should be fairly clean water when you capture it. So that's how I suggest you store water. The fifth tactic to discuss is how much food should you store? Should it be 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, a year, 3 years? Now, in my own personal experience of my lifetime, I think a 3-week supply of food would have handled any emergency that I would have encountered. But now, my father, who fought with the 3rd Infantry Division in Europe in World War II, in the aftermath of the war, saw how the German people were starving. And then one time he volunteered for a humanitarian effort to take food to Poland, and he said they were far worse off. So in either of those situations, you want to have as much food as you can. Now, where would be a good spot? I personally think a good objective would be 3 months with some longer term food. And now you can justify storing far more than that for some emergencies, but 3 months would be kind of a Goldilocks principle. Not too hot and not too cold. Number 6 tactic. Should you have a bunker or no bunker? Well, I've done a previous video on this. I'm not a big believer in having a blast bunker. If you're located at a place where you need a blast bunker, you need to do a strategic relocation to a safer geographical area. Now, I am a big believer in having a radiation bunker because literally you can make a case that potentially radiation will cover virtually the entire world at some degree of toxicity. And even a minimum effort towards protection against nuclear radiation can be very helpful, particularly first 2 or 3 days, even extending out to 14 days. Now, this can be an improvised shelter in a basement, or it could be a shelter outside. But you need to make an assessment, a risk assessment of where you're currently at. That's the key item in bunker or no bunker. If you found this video helpful, please click like and subscribe. It helps the channel and it helps the community. Be prepared.